The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar. This is Caleb, executive with FayeBSG's Systems Group. Also joining with me is Matthew Marham from Sugar CRM. So today's webinar, I'm going to give a quick overview on FayeBSG's Systems Group to kick things off, and then I'm going to pass it over to Matt to give great background on CRM migration using Sugar Integrate. So this is the fourth webinar in our Sugar Integrate series. We will be sending out the recording for this after the call, as well as providing all of the other webinars that we've done in this series if you'd like to go back and watch any of them. As we go through this, if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. We will likely come to those questions, ask them at the end if there are any. If we don't get to any, we can definitely take those questions offline. All right, with that, Matt, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so real quick, just a little background on FayeBSG's Systems Group before I pass it over to Matt. So again, we have about 25 plus years of experience. We've been working with Sugar for about 10 years. We have over 500 clients today. We're a Sugar Elite partner, which is the highest regard for a Sugar partner. And last year, we were the Global Partner of the Year with Sugar CRM. Our corporate headquarters is in Southern California, just outside of LA. But we do have offices across the country and across the world. So we're in Chicago, Dallas. I'm outside of Philadelphia, Miami, Europe, and South America. We do have a strong focus on CRM and CX, but we also have other sides of the business that focus on our financial software, such as ERPs and accounting systems. So we've done many integrations to Sage, QuickBooks, NetSuite, and so on. We do have a strong focus on marketing automation as well, specifically Sugar Market. We've done hundreds of CRM implementations, accounting, ERP implementations, and custom software implementations over the years. So with that, I'll actually just pass it over to Matt to take us into today's material.
Great. Thank you, Caleb. So this is Matt Marham. As Caleb mentioned, I work for Sugar CRM. I'm the Director of ISV Alliances and also essentially the product owner for the Sugar Integrate. One of the things we're talking about today is CRM migration. And I'm sure many of you have been on a CRM migration or have adopted a new CRM or are thinking about adopting a new CRM. You're thinking about moving to Sugar Cell, or you might recall some of the challenges you may have had in thinking about moving to a new CRM platform. I think about anytime you're adopting a new solution, especially like a business application, regardless of what it is, right? But especially for a CRM, it can be pretty painful process. There's always this sense of risk or doubt around, well, could there be some sort of business disruption that'll happen as part of this process? Is this system really gonna meet the needs of my business when I move to that to the new system? Is there any risk of downtime because things aren't working the way I expected to when we move to the new system? Because that's gonna cost, if I've got sales reps twiddling their thumbs, that's gonna cost me money, right? Definitely a risk of poor adoption, right? Anytime you're moving to a new system, there's usually a use sort of a need for user training, just to make sure that even if the new system is demonstrably better, if people don't know how to use it, they won't. So there's always a risk when you're moving to a new system. You're changing people's routines. There's a risk of poor adoption, right? And so that's another challenge with any sort of CRM migration or CRM adoption project. And then of course there's challenges around implementation costs and timeline, right? If you're moving to a new system, if you've done a lot of customizations in your old CRM and you're having to re-implement those all in the new CRM system, gosh, how expensive is that going to be, right? How much time is it going to take, right? If a migration project drags on for months and months and months, then you might not realize all the value that you were expecting, right? You're paying for licenses and then you're not getting a chance to use them, which is a real challenge, right? So definitely at Sugar, we recognize kind of the fundamental challenges of moving to a new system, and what we're offering with Sugar Integrate is a way to tackle at least some of these challenges, to try and make it easier to remove kind of the fear and to reduce the pain, if not fully eliminate the pain in making doing the migration to a new CRM system. And so that's why we have just launched, version 1.0 of the CRM Data Migrator for sales. And so this is essentially a template that's built on top of the Sugar Integrate platform that makes it easier for you to get data out of your old CRM and into Sugar Cell and Enterprise, so that you can accelerate your CRM adoption process, your move to your upgrade to a Sugar-based CRM solution. So just to remind you on Sugar Integrate, what do we talk about with these templates? In the past webinars, we've talked a lot about sort of the platform and things like adapters, which is kind of the raw connectors to different applications, common resources, which allows you to do the data mapping and transformation, and procedures, which allows you to orchestrate your integrations. But the idea is that with these templates that we're offering, we've already pre-built some of these integrations, or in this case, a migration tool for you to really help you accelerate time to value, right? So you don't have to figure out how to do that CRM migration project on top of Sugar Integrate from scratch. We've got the template for you, and it's built and maintained by the Sugar team. And so again, as I mentioned, we just launched this just in the last couple of weeks, the CRM Data Migrator for sales. It is specifically focused on, at least in this first iteration, it will help you migrate from a Salesforce Sales Cloud to Sugar Cell or Sugar Enterprise. So the idea, again, with this template and with the platform, the Integrate platform, is that this can be adapted for your specific needs. So if you've got a different CRM that you're using today and you want to move to Cell, then you could adapt this to support that different CRM system. And actually, in these webinar series, I don't think I've done a demo yet, so I'll use some of our time today to actually jump into the system and actually show you the template that we built for you, so you can get a sense of that. Also, that kind of comes along with the CRM Data Migrator for sales is there's a bunch of supporting documentation to, basically an implementation guide or a migration guide that'll make sure that you know what steps you need to take to actually prepare your source system, in this case Salesforce, and your destination system, Sugar Cell or Enterprise, for the migration, right? Because there's a lot of aspects that as part of that data migration that can happen automatically, but there's a lot of things that just aren't going to happen automatically. Like if there's custom fields or things like that you need to recreate within Sugar, then that's work you have to do up front before you can actually run the migration tool. But in essence, right, what this migration tool allows you to do is really accelerate the time it takes to do a migration, right? So for example, if you were writing some custom scripts or something like that to do the migration work, it would take you at least a month. And I'll show you kind of the body of work that went into this data migration tool. And it would take you at least a month to build that from scratch. And that's can be very, very costly, from a services perspective. Whereas if you're using a tool like this, it really just requires more of just a setup, some configuration time up front, and then you're able to leverage this platform to actually do all the data migration work, kind of the heavy lifting and moving the data across. So again, you can see something like a 10x savings, and a multiple times improvement in timeline on your migration project when you're using a tool like this data migrator versus having to figure out how to do it on your own, using scripts or trying to manually import CSVs or things like that. So there's a whole lot of value in the tool. Okay, so let's jump to a quick demo of Sugar Integrate, and I can kind of give you a tour not only of Sugar Integrate, but of some of the stuff that we've pre-built as part of this CRM Data Migrator. So let me end my show and jump to my browser. So this is the Sugar Integrate user interface. So the developer or engineer or consultant that would actually be doing the migration would be the one really using this tool. Though if you've got some technical skills, then this is definitely something that anybody could use if you understand APIs and maybe a little bit about how Sugar works and data transformation and stuff like that works. So on the left-hand side, you kind of see the navigation bar of the platform. Everything kind of starts with an adapter. So adapters are your connectors, if you recall, to all the different applications within the system. You can see there's a huge catalog of adapters. Again, just to remind you, if you don't have if you don't see the application you need in the catalog, you can always build a new adapter from scratch. That's a capability with the Integrate platform. You're not limited to this catalog. But for the purposes of the CRM Data Migrator, of course, we're focused. You're going to be able to use some of the pre-built adapters. So there's some adapters for Sugar Cell and Sugar Enterprise, and then there's an adapter for Salesforce Sales Cloud. And you can see here, these numbers here represent instances. So basically, these are active connections that Sugar Integrate has with a couple of different applications. So in this case, I've got 2 different Sugar Cell instances that I have connected to integrate. So I'm able to use those as sources or destinations for integrations. QuickBooks, Salesforce, Sugar Enterprise. So I have a couple of different active connections already in my account here. So basically I've got a couple of instances. I've got a Cell instance and a Salesforce instance that I'm doing the migration with. And so those are already set up. So usually, once you've kind of set up your connections to your source and destination system, then you need to think about, well, how do I want to handle the mapping and transformation? And this is where the template comes in. So what the Data Migrator template allows you to do is you can install all these different common resources into your environment. So I did not build these from scratch. I actually just installed them from our package. So that you can see that there's like nearly 24 different common resources that start with the CRM prefix, because these are common resources we're using specifically for the data migration or CRM data migration. And if we jump into the mapping screen, you can see kind of how these resources are getting mapped. So basically, we've defined a canonical model, right, or sort of a convenient, common model for how we want to represent accounts across any CRM system that we want to integrate with. So basically, the exercise in doing the migration, specifically for how you want to map data from your Salesforce instance to Sugar, or from any other CRM system to Sugar, is to go in and update the different mappings. So here's kind of the canonical model that I'm working with. And on the right-hand side, if I open up my Sugar instance that I'm using as kind of my destination, you can see all the different field names pre-mapped from that, that are part of this template. So all this is work that's done for you, and really it's just when you're doing the data migration project, you're really just coming in and tweaking things. Well, maybe there's some custom fields that I need to add to that need to be mapped, and you can just add those here, at the bottom. Or maybe you want to change how, like in this case, like the office phone number, you want that mapped to a different field within Sugar. That's fine. You can come in here and tweak those mappings, and then you can test it out right from here within the UI. So that's very useful and powerful, and you can see how it won't take you that long to figure out how you want to map data from Sugar to your Salesforce environment. So you can see it when I open up my sort of Salesforce test instance here. You can see how the Salesforce fields are being mapped to my common resource. So really, again, the exercise of updating your mappings and figuring out what data, where you want data to go, is really just coming into the UI here and tweaking the fields that appear, and making sure that any custom fields or things like that you have are represented appropriately. And then once you've got your your data mapped, it's really as easy as coming in and triggering one of these pre-built procedures. So there's a number of them here already imported. Again, nobody had to build this from scratch. I could just install the package essentially. And here's our very sophisticated migration formula. Migration procedure. So it really is just to give you an idea of how easy it can be. I want to run a Salesforce migration. I've already got my procedure instance set up that's going from Salesforce to Sugar Cell. And then, if I want to run this migration process once, or I want to run it again and again, in fact, I've already run this before, so I can trigger it off to run again. It's just as easy as coming in here and clicking that run button. And then now I'm rerunning the whole migration process from scratch. And essentially re-importing all the data from my Salesforce environment into Sugar as part of this data migration tool. And then finally, one of the one of the nice features of using an iPaaS like Sugar Integrate is all the monitoring capability that kind of comes with it, essentially for free, right? So we've built this migration tool, and it relies on a lot of like bulk data. It uses bulk jobs, essentially, sort of background jobs, to download data from Salesforce and then import it into Sugar in sort of a very specific order, right? And so if actually you can see in here, there's not a whole lot of data, of course, in my little test instance, but you can see, kind of the order and monitor the progress of the migration as it goes along. And you can get statuses. If there's, for some reason, there's an error and you need to like address it and then restart the migration, you're able to do that and kind of monitor the status all within this UI. But you can see here that it triggers essentially each module in turn. So it starts with users, then it goes to accounts, then it goes to contacts, and it's moving them kind of one at a time, essentially on a single thread. At least that's how it's designed initially. But you get pretty good throughput, right? So scheduling out all these different, like something like 18 different bulk jobs takes some time. So it does take maybe like an hour or so to run through all these different jobs. But even if there's not a whole lot of data volumes, but even if you're looking at something like here on the accounts module, we're able to move 1,700 accounts in looks like around 3 minutes, right? So you're looking at something like 30,000 records an hour. I see usually in testing 20 to 30,000 records an hour, and that's using a demo environment, which not a real beefy production environment. I'm using a demo environment for this testing. So, and that's just running on a single thread. So it's pretty substantial. Pretty good rate of migration. And so that's part of kind of the hard work and the engineering that went into the tool, is to be able to pull this off. So anyway, this is so that at the end of the day, of course, like for end users, what matters is you open up Sugar and you're able to see all your data that's moved over from Salesforce, and all the relationships are preserved, and all the data comes across with correctly, and so on. So this is that's kind of my tour of Sugar Integrate, and you can see here, this is just an example of an account that got moved over from Salesforce into Sugar, that's preserved kind of all the contacts and opportunities and sort of the data that's associated with each of those. So that's my quick tour. So let me just jump back to the slides. So it's worth noting what are the sets of modules, or essentially resources or objects, whatever term you want to use, that get migrated as part of the CRM Data Migrator tool. These are sort of the 17 modules that kind of are supported out of the box. If you have custom ones, those can work too. It's just you'll have to come in and modify the template, right, to adjust that. CRMs that Sugar Integrate supports. So obviously we built the tool specifically for coming off of Salesforce, but Sugar Integrate supports something like 18 different CRM systems. So that template can be adapted to support any of these other systems. And we're actually, in later versions of our CRM Data Migrator, we're looking to pick off a few more key CRM systems where we'll have done the work for you, so that you don't have to figure out the details of how to do the complete migration yourself. But obviously, there's a wide range of CRM systems that if you're using today, or and you want to come to Sugar, then Sugar Integrate can be an option for you to be able to support that migration. Just a reminder of the Sugar solutions that Integrate supports: professional, enterprise, sell, and serve. Market is coming. Again, for enterprise and pro, if you're on-prem, we have this ground to cloud feature, which is nice. If your on-prem installation of your CRM is behind a firewall or on a VPN. So that's kind of the range of supported Sugar solutions for Sugar Integrate. And let me just summarize real quick with some of the benefits. Just remind you some of the benefits of Sugar Integrate. It's perfect for real-time integrations. That allow you to automate inter-system or say cross-departmental processes, right? So if you've got an ERP, we talked in a previous webinar about automating a quote-to-cash process, which would span from your CRM to your ERP and all your back office systems. So Sugar Integrate's perfect for that kind of thing. It's also great for building reusable and interchangeable integrations, and in this case, migrations, faster and a lower cost. You also get all your integration needs from one vendor, which is nice. A lot of companies are working on, they're implementing a CRM or a CX as a strategy to try to develop like that 360-degree view of the customer. And one of the challenges in trying to accomplish that is that you got to work with all these different vendors that own that information, that hold that customer information, and make sure all these different systems talk to each other. And part of the value of Sugar Integrate is that you can work with Sugar as kind of both your CX platform, but also the integration platform to pull all that data into one place, and so that can really help you achieve that goal in a more reasonable fashion, because we've got best-in-class support. Our support team is awesome. We always get really, really good kudos out in the community, out in the industry for their quality of support. So, let Sugar, provide you kind of the best in class support for your integration needs, as well as your other Sugar products. And of course, Sugar integrates, upgrades safe. That's another great reason to look at Sugar Integrate. So with that, any questions?
Thanks, Matt. That was great. Yeah, that's awesome. We have a large number of clients that come to us, or prospects that come to us looking to move from Salesforce to Sugar, and some of them can be very large projects. So it's good to know that this is out there that can do it much quicker. So thanks for that. It doesn't look like we have any questions. So with that, I think we can wrap up. I do want to thank Matt. Thanks for joining us on all of these this 4-part series for Sugar Integrate webinars that we've done. It's all been super helpful. And for everyone that's listening in now, we will send out this recording, as well as there will be a blog out there where you can view all 4 of the recordings that we've done for this entire series. And so if there are any other questions, or if you want to see Sugar Integrate in action, you can feel free to reach back out to us. We'd be happy to do a one-on-one demo with you. But thanks again, Matt, and thanks again everyone for joining, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the day.
All right, thank you guys.